Wide ocean, big jacket. I do enjoy games where you explore with a story. For every great game like the Stanley Parable or Firewatch, there are ones like The Letter, which miss the point of why a player would want to explore their world. You could easily screw up making a story-based exploration game. You could make the story dull, or make the world a chore to explore, or not give the players any real reason for being here at all. Unfortunately, the game is more on that side. It's not a bad game, just one that feels like a student project. There are hints of charm and interesting ideas, however they pepper it with boring environments with slow-moving characters. This game was suggested to me by Screen Rant, which was in turn suggested to me by Jeff on Twitter when I was asking for games to play. He sent me a link to Screen Rant's article that gave me a list of top 10 short and sweet games ranked by Metacritic, and I agreed with most of the ones I played on this list, so I picked one that I didn't know and I gave it a try. Unfortunately, I found it dull from beginning to end, but that's not to say it didn't have the possibility to be better, but it just never tried to be. It had some clever ideas and story situations and decided to let them go instead of expanding on them. Now the story is about 4 people, 2 adults and 2 kids. One of the kids is related to the gentleman of the group and the other kid is her new boyfriend. The kids are so young, everything is kept mostly kid friendly, or at least it was until they go into like a 5-minute discussion of sex with the 2 women of the group. It was kind of unnecessary. I got where they were trying to go with it, but there was many different ways to get there. Feels like it was only there just to make it edgy. There are a few environments you can walk around and explore. However, exploring really isn't worth it as the environments are often very empty and you moved very slowly through them. Quite often it's just you walk a few feet, click on something, the screen would go black with text boxes, and then you do it again after it's done. Now, as negative as I might seem about this game, I did see storylines that were happening throughout the day and night that I thought might be interesting how they might resolve. I was fully expecting this game to go through 2 nights because nothing felt like it was ending. However, I was shocked when they had me pack up the campsite and it was over. I knew it was a short game. They say it will take 60 to 90 minutes. But if they tightened up the parts that really dragged on, looking at you bird watching sequence, they could have added in more parts that would have fleshed out the characters. Up until the last part of this game, most of the characters felt generic to me, but towards the end they actually did try to add some complexity to them, and that's when I was the most engaged. Unfortunately, it was very brief. Whenever they want to have a conversation, they'll just cut to a black screen and do the conversation there. It was jarring, but I got used to it. I would prefer it if they just kept everything with the action, but I can understand the way they set up the camera, why they wanted to do it this way. It was just easier. I liked the adult storyline they had, which I'm not going to spoil, but they dropped it fairly quickly. And it was kind of weird how quickly they dropped it. The kids do have kind of a storyline. It's a bit basic, but it is there. They decide to do romantic things together. Or should I say one romantic thing? And that's going to the beach at night. I feel the game is missing an antagonist. They do set one up with the rowdy teenagers who give the kids a hard time. And you would think they would come back to mess with them later in the night. But they don't. That whole story plot gets dropped. There is a hidden 5-part epilogue where you play as the ranger of the park and his friend. The teenagers come back in the most minor of ways. Just like the main game, it's not that interesting. But to this title's credit, at least it gives us something to do in the explorable world. A very minor thing, but I guess anything would be preferable at that point. Wide Ocean Big Jacket was an interesting idea in theory. I wish they had a more compelling story. More than once I almost stopped playing it because it was kinda dull. But I knew the game was fairly short, so I pushed through it. If this was like a $1.99 game, I guess I'd be okay with it. But it's not. It's $7.99. And it is not worth that. The environments you explore were dull, and the characters, while amusing at times, didn't feel very fleshed out. So I think this is one trip you should just skip.